We're recording. Hi, guys. Welcome back to the Ragin Parks Wrestling Podcast. It's been a long time, and we forgot how to do this.
I didn't even realize. Because I also thought that you were gonna do one of the lead-ins with the graphic and everything, and then count us in, and it was just like
I have this working. We're working on scraps right now.
I was gonna say, yeah, you're now up in South Carolina. I'm still down here in the New Orleans area, and
But shockingly, we're here together in a shot.
yeah, I was gonna say we're at my house right now, which is
Halloween
bedazzled with
headquarters.
Halloween crap.
Halloween headquarters for the group.
Yeah, no, I was gonna
Actually,
say you just came in town this past week. Granted, coming in for several things, but flew in on the day of our annual Halloween party and made an appearance. Man, we were sitting there talking at the party. He was like, "We got to get the band back together for a podcast." It's been a minute.
yeah. So I had some of the equipment to get the good video. I like to apologize for the video, but I forgot everything at at my dad's apartment.
Womp womp.
And I was like, when I pulled up, I'm like, damn, don't have damn, don't have. What the hell am I doing? But no, we got some video, we got some audio,
Got some video,
and we're
some
all
audio, but
and we're all good.
we'll make it work. Shoestring budget, whatever. We make it work however we can. And with that said, I guess I'll go ahead and do like the official greeting. Greetings, wrestling fans, and welcome to another edition of the Ragin Marks Wrestling Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Ravishing Randy, joined to my right by.
Rampage Ramsey, and we are kind of rebooting. It's it's been a couple months because of the move. Hurricane down here, hurricane up in South Carolina.
Yeah.
Thought I got rid of that shit, but they follow me. But what we're gonna end up doing is we were talking and we need to go back to what we were.
I mean, like,
But not
we'll probably
more.
still talk about the current product here and there, but it's also like at the same point in time, just with like my work schedule, your schedule with everything that's going on in South Carolina and everything, it's very hard to keep up with the current product. Like day to day, be as knowledgeable as possible. I mean, like I'll watch full shows here and there. I'm not gonna lie. There's times where I just catch the highlights on YouTube because WWE. I'll give them credit for this. They do a hell of a job of putting those highlight reels together.
Yes, and especially now, now with Testator in the seat in Raw, it makes a really good uh, short videos and good segment videos on YouTube because it sounds like really professional sports center type of deals in which is it it makes the product kind of fresh. And I think before we go into any topics, how do you like Testator at the desk?
I think he's gotten better as the weeks have progressed. Not that I thought he did bad his first go around, but it's just kind of one of those things. You go from the medium where you're calling football, you're calling baseball, you're calling a lot of those sports, and it's like he's the play-by-play guy. He's responsible for relaying the action. When it comes to wrestling, yes, like you want to be straight laced play-by-play, but at the same point in time, you have to emote. And like there's some things that's like you don't necessarily want to be too over the top, and then there's other times where you have to bring it like that. And I kind of felt like as the weeks have gone on, he's gotten more and more comfortable in that role, and I think he's doing a hell of a job.
I tell you, like when I first heard him, I was like, "This is big time."
Yeah,
It makes it like big time boxing match, big time. You hear him on the call on ESPN on boxing. It's a big time match. It's a big time feel. It makes it a big time feel.
I will say it's not a knock on the current guys because I think we can all agree Michael Cole ever since he no longer has Vince McMahon in his ear regulating every single thing that he says. Michael Cole is a completely different announcer, one that is very entertaining to watch
Oh, without a doubt.
and listen to. I feel like Joe Tessitore kind of brings a presence that maybe they haven't had since Amaro Ronaldo.
I would like to introduce Bella to the program.
It's my dog Bella. And then we got the Black Cat Mojo just kind of chilling on love seat over there. So Wouldn't be surprised if at some point she goes and tries to knock the camera over. She tried to do that maybe about 2 minutes before we went on air. So this is gonna be interesting to say the least. But no, like I honestly feel like Joe brings kind of a big time feel that they haven't really had since Morrow was on commentary. And granted, Morrow, as good as he could be, would sometimes go way over the top. It's about
Yeah.
striking that balance of conveying emotion, getting the television viewer hyped about what they're seeing on the screen and everything else. It's a perfect balance. It's a tightrope you have to walk, and I feel like Joe's getting better and better with it every week.
It just has that. Like I was like, man, it feels different. It feels good. It feels great. I just I liked it. Even the first week when he was doing it, you can tell like it's going to take some time.
Yeah,
But I tell
yeah,
you right off, it just makes it feel bigger, and it makes it more important because his voice, like he says something, it's more important.
yeah.
It's
No,
just like
it is a voice that you've heard on ESPN for almost 15, 20 years. He's been doing it for a while. So again, when you connect that big sport feel to wrestling, and it's kind of one of those things like we're trying to legitimize the sport of pro wrestling more and more and give it more of that big match feel. It's like really that partnership with UFC or whatever. Joe Tessitore kind of brings that. Oh, hey, no, this is
brings it
legitimate.
more legitimate, brings it big time. Um, it's just something different. You're not getting in another promotions. It's just something different, and it feels different, and it feels good.
Yeah, and then not gonna lie, AEW keeping up with it from a distance, but I mean, like one of the big criticisms right now is like who's doing what? Like Chris Statlander one week is
I feel you, Bill.
yeah. Chris Statlander one week's a babyface. The next week she's heel, and she has a really good heel run. Becomes a very captivating, interesting heel, and now she's babyface again. And it's like, what the shit? There's weeks where Swerve Strickland is babyface, and then the next week he's being a heel, and then the week after that he's a babyface. Just look at everything that's going on with Adam Cole and MJF right now. Like, what the fuck is that dynamic of that? So it's like there's no definitive, babyface heel aspect. We don't know where we're going with these storylines. It's like we're hot shotting it every week. So it's getting harder and harder to really be a fan of that. And Bella is trying to get her 15 minutes of fame over here. She's just sniffing the microphone.
It's
Like,
said
oh,
also that
come here,
the
girl.
biggest story. No, 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 go to the wires, not the wires, not the wires. The it also sucks that the biggest, the biggest storyline right now going in AEW is the breakup of Britt Baker and
That's the hottest
story,
storyline right now.
and it's not even a storyline.
It's not even
Real
happening in the
life,
ring.
real life.
Oh man. Yeah, but no, so I mean that's what makes it harder and harder for AEW fans to kind of stay on board and stay invested is like we really don't know what's gonna happen week to week. And like granted, there's times where that's like a good thing. Like think back to the Attitude Era where yeah, you didn't know what you were gonna see week in, week out. Let me go ahead and put her outside. Hold on.
There's there's so many things, but I mean the interesting things are going to be oh, we moved the dog. Uh, storylines also right now is like real life storylines is people are more worried about their TV deal, their the real life situation with Britt Baker, and then now the rumor is Samantha Irvin coming to AEW. It's
I
so many
mean,
different things.
she's kind of denied that and just saying that there's like some other side projects that have more to do with music that she wanted to get into. Plus, like she has a daughter,
Yeah.
like, and the schedule was starting to get rough with
Well,
that.
those are the top subjects right now of AEW,
I mean,
and it's
like,
have nothing to do with what's going on in the ring.
Well, like the big thing is that they have their TV deal now. You know that has figured itself out. So now you're not stressing over that. What they need to do, they have the talent. You have a plethora of talent. Now it's get back to what they were sort of doing in the early days of AEW. Some long-term storytelling. We're not hot-shotting matches week in, week out. It's like let's get back to doing that. Like um one of the podcasts I listen to, they talk about like Mercedes Monet, or one of the topics was is she a bust and she's gotten to AEW. And it's kind of like, all right, the two matches that you really wanted to see with Mercedes Monet in AEW were um your girl Willow Nightingale and Britt Baker. And what have we pretty much done in like the first 4 or 5 months that Mercedes Monet has been in AEW? We've already burned through those two matches with fairly little fanfare at that. So it's kind of like, instead of rushing through to get to these dream matches because we got to pop a rating, or we have a pay-per-view that's coming up that's not one of the big pay-per-views, but just, oh hey, we have to throw something on there. It's like, let's build storylines and play these stories out over time instead
On
of
top of
rushing.
that, too, her matches have been overwhelmingly not good.
Mid at best.
And the whole thing is like, I, uh, I hear like fans say like, oh, we want them to be, they go to AEW, they have this and this and this and that. There's a difference too, like, and it's what I never say it publicly, I never say it, but this is what I really feel about is AEW doesn't know how to manage megastars. They know how to maybe manage great wrestlers, but they don't know how to manage megastars. Like, there's stuff where a lot of things just fell in the cracks with a lot of the stars. Like, um, what's her name? What's her AEW name? Not Sasha Banks.
Mercedes Monet.
Mercedes Monet. It. She's one of those on those level superstars where you have to know how to manage her right. Also, I always thought that she wasn't the best at how everyone thought she is. I think was like her matches were great because the person she was
She
facing
had
in
good
the ring.
dancing partners.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when you're dancing with Charlotte, with 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 Becky, with Bailey, those are also on par with, they're all on par with each other. They make each other great. You don't have like, and I understand. I love the talent. I love the people name like PWI named Tony Storm. They're number one. Disagree with it fucking completely. I think her gimmick was good, but
Her gimmick was good. She was good in the ring. You could make an argument of whether she's number one or not. I definitely would say she was one of the top three for sure.
top top three. But I'm like, in out of the ring, Rhea Ripley still is hotter than anybody.
Well, yeah, you could definitely make the case
Even with
that Rhea.
injury, you could do the injury. Not, she was still hot because it just permeated, and even in evaluation period, it was at the end of the evaluation period and everything. But there's not too many dancing partners that like. Okay, like I love the gimmick for Tony Storm. It's just that in the ring, just the women's matches are don't come up because they don't give them enough time to
I kind of well, like
to cook.
I kind of feel like almost to what WWE employs now with the two brands. You have Raw, SmackDown, and you have your wrestlers that are sort of exclusive to each brand. However, every once in a while they cross over here and there. Not that I necessarily feel like the soft brand split that they did, because Punk didn't like the Elite and vice versa. So like the Elite stayed on Wednesdays and Punk went to Saturdays. It's like I don't think you necessarily do a talent split like that. but I really do feel like they could benefit and give more wrestlers screen time and more opportunities for stories to tell themselves if they were to do a brand split and have a crop of wrestlers that are exclusive to Dynamite, crop of wrestlers that are exclusive to Collision, and then make like let Ring of Honor be its own thing. Stop putting Ring of Honor championship matches and things like that on Collision and on Dynamite. Just let Ring
Right.
of Honor be its own thing.
I
If you
agree.
want that to be like your version of NXT, then do that. Like truly do that. Like you don't need Chris Jericho winning the Ring of Honor championship because what does that do? And like I get Chris Jericho will say that, oh well, I'm just elevating the title. I'm gonna elevate the person that I'm going up against. But Jericho shouldn't have any business
I
doing
think it's
that.
just more about attaching accomplishments to his career.
Yeah.
It's another world championship that he has won. Not that many people can say they won WWE, AEW, and now Ring of Honor. Um, I mean, it just has accomplishments, but I'm like, in the long run, they just need to do like different things because I think WWE figured out, and it shows you all about what they're doing in NXT. Just I have not felt more excited for Halloween Havoc
Mm.
for this Sunday because I am impatiently waiting for it.
Yeah.
I am excited for it, and it's all have to deal with the women's match. That women's match right there is probably going might be the women's match of the year. You have four are probably the top. I think they're top 10. All four of them are top 10. PW disagrees, which I was shocked as fuck that the some of the rankings of especially the rank how low they ranked your girl the NXT champion. Why I can't think of her name?
Roxana Perez.
Why am I losing my mind today? Can't think of names. Getting old. Because the Roxanne they ranked her really low, and I'm like, to me behind Ripley, she was 1-2. What Roxanne has done for that belt,
Roxanne's been a workhorse. I'll put it that way. She has not been afraid to take on any challengers, and she delivers every time.
that match with Jordan Grace just says it all. It's more on Jordan Grace, but hey, Jordan Grace was like, hey, we're gonna put her over. Let's put her over, and it made and she's been money, and I don't understand the low ranking PWI. Maybe they just don't like NXT, but guess what? NXT is the only brand that's on national television, kicking everybody's ass in ratings. Damn near.
Yeah. No, so I mean, that's probably about the extent that we'll talk
Yeah.
about the current product today. I will say this in closing, going jumping back to WWE the main roster for a second. I am genuinely curious to see where this bloodline story ends up going between SmackDown coming up, considering what just happened on Raw with Jimmy losing or Jay losing the Intercontinental Championship, and now he's gonna have no choice but to join up with Roman and Jimmy. And then who do we get in as the fourth? Is genuinely going to be interesting to see what this bloodline versus bloodline leading to War Games is going to be. But I bring up the Intercontinental Championship, and that seems like a perfect segue into the topic of today's show. Like I said, we're going to kind of kick it back to what we used to do, where we would come up with our own lists and
Talk about
just
older.
talk about older, just kind of like more of when we were coming up watching wrestling as kids, as young adults, and everything. But this is going to be an Intercontinental Championship focused show.
Yeah, when you were like, you asked me this morning, like, what are we going to talk about? I'm just like, I don't know. IC Championship. I don't I don't
Yeah,
know
it's like
why.
scrambling for a topic. It's like, no,
Uh,
you know what? The Intercontinental Championship, it's timely considering everything that's going on. Um,
Braun Breaker is now a two-time fucking IC champion.
fucking a
Was
man,
it
and
within a year?
like,
So
look, I didn't see him losing the belt that soon. But then for him to get it back, it's like we better keep it on him for a while because that dude is a
I
dog.
was shocked because the
Speaking of dogs, let me go let her back in.
the support for Jay, that was just that was I mean I was like, man, it was a lands full of support and everything. I was like, I see why they put it on him. Can't wait to put it on him, but then take it back off him. I understand too because storylines and everything.
Storyline, it makes perfect sense because Jay's like, look, I'm doing my own thing over here. I'm not trying to get involved in y'all's business, but like, you know, like stop dividing the family. Let's unite the family. Like, all this other stuff. Like, just keep me out of you and Roman's business. Let me do my thing. And then they inserted themselves into Jay's business. They took his thing away from him, and now it's all right. I got no choice but to have some skin in the game.
So we got two lists. We're going to do our top five IC champion of our each like our own
our
preferred
personal top five lists, who we consider top five Intercontinental champions.
and then our own personal five best IC title matches. So well, let's start with the title matches.
Oh, you want to go there? Okay.
Let's go with title matches. I think because I think the individual honor of the best IC champion should be the last.
Okay. All right.
So
Fair enough.
we'll go that route. I'm so technology efficient today. My tablet.
Well, I was gonna say we're recording off of your laptop,
And
so
yeah, I don't have my other monitor. It's all we're on the go. Everything's on the go. So let's start with your number five.
for my number five, I have Bret Hart versus Mr. Perfect at SummerSlam 1991. Dave Meltzer gave this match 4 stars. You want to talk about two of the best storytellers in the ring, two of the best sellers in the ring, two of the best technical wrestlers going at it. Just it was an amazing back and forth match. The storytelling was top notch. The in ring work itself was near perfect. And if you think about it, as much selling as Kurt Hennig did in that match, the fact that he was legitimately working with a fucked up back and took some of those bumps that he did. I mean, these are two of the top Intercontinental champions of all time. And we'll wait and see if they make my list or not. But when you have two of the greats going at it like that, and the fact that it was like a slow, methodical, but slow build to picking up the pace and everything, just to me, it was a pitch perfect match. My number five.
Okay. I I have like kind of went on with an easy out at number five, and it's any match that Rick Rude had when he had the IC belt.
Oh,
Any of them.
you are breaking. You're busting my balls with this shit.
I am sorry, but
You are busting my balls.
first thing, I couldn't think of one match particular with him because I was dealing with the audio and the video equipment. While you were on here looking and researching and doing.
What were you doing all afternoon?
I have a life. I was running around doing things.
So was I, but shit. All right. No. Go ahead. Tell me about Rick Rude. Come on.
It's just more about the presence that he brings in the ring with him. The tights with the wife's name on them, or the graphics of the other wrestler. It just to me just when he, especially it also when he opened up his robe, showed the belt. Any match that's Rick Rude.
Anytime you got a wrestler that wears a robe to the ring and has the belt on underneath it when they pop open that robe. Now, granted, when Rick would do his little shimmy, it's a different story. Yeah, you get all the girls in the crowd hot and all the
It
guys.
was just different compared to
Yeah.
like Ric Flair. Ric Flair brings elegance. Rick Rude did it with sleeves.
Yes.
So yeah, that number five is any Rick Rude match.
No, so
That's a
I'm not gonna
dog.
hate. I love Rick Rude,
It's
but I am gonna give you a little bit of shit on that. That was a little bit of a cop out. But what's your number four? Do you actually have a match for number four?
yes, I do. It's Steamboat versus Savage in WrestleMania 3,
Oh, okay.
which everyone thinks was probably the greatest WrestleMania match until some other matches.
Hmm.
But it's probably the most iconic match as a kid for me. It was probably the most iconic wrestling match, not a professional, not a pro wrestling match, but a actual technical wrestling match as a kid. That was probably the top match.
Oh yeah.
So much was said about it. We talked about this match so many times. Just iconic, one of the iconic matches.
Spoiler alert. I'll probably be talking about that match in a little bit. But my number four match, I'm gonna go with Razor Ramon and Shawn Michaels. Now, granted, they had two legendary encounters over the Intercontinental title at pay per views, but my number four goes to the WrestleMania 10 ladder match.
So while we talked, this is your number four. This is my number three.
All right, so spoiler alert here. We're going to be interchanging here in just a second, but just to kind of go over, because again, like anytime Razor and Shawn locked up in the ring, it was an instant classic. But I mean, what kind of to me sets this match apart, although Brett and Shawn technically had the first ladder match in WWE, and it was Brett that brought the concept to the company because it's something that they would do in Stampede Wrestling all the time. The first televised ladder match was Razor and Shawn. And like when you can say just like even if you compile a list of like top 5 ladder matches of all time, it's very hard not to put this match in that top 5. May have been the first televised one, but it still holds up to this day. Just the way that they use the ladder to beat each other up, tell that story. Um, it could have easily have been a spot fest like what we see with ladder matches nowadays. And I mean, like, granted, they had spots, but they were carefully calculated and chosen spots,
Yeah.
and they just did more of a better job of like showing the desperation of trying to climb the ladder to seize the belts and everything. Just like two great workers in a gimmick match like that, it's going to be a slam dunk, and just it still to this day holds up.
It was the match back in the day. It was the two up and comers. It was the two rising to the top. It was Razor. It was Shawn. It was everything. It should have been the main event of that WrestleMania. There's a lot of things it should have been, and it stole the show. And it's one of those things that you think about it now. It's like Shawn was iconic and a lot of the first in the company, and this was one of them.
By the way, one of the very few 5-star matches that Meltzer gave out for WWF at that time. So definitely telling just how good of a match it is.
Since
Um,
already
I'll
we went through it three, what's your number three?
Well, I was gonna say I'll segue into my number three, which was your number four, which is Randy Savage versus Steamboat, WrestleMania 3, 4.5-star match according to Meltzer. Um, Truly the first classic match at WrestleMania. Because like realistically, the first two WrestleManias, it was more so just about the event itself versus the
Yeah.
quality of the wrestling and the quality of the matches.
Yeah.
Steamboat Savage was the first one that like literally you could say that is a WrestleMania caliber match. That is a match where yeah, they're middle of the card, but it's like okay, follow that. Like good luck. Oh, we're going up Andre and Hogan are the main event. Okay, we'll just go out there, steal the fucking show, tear the house down and be like, "Okay, you two giants, top that." Like just the pacing, the pitch, everything is like literally just perfect balance of technical wrestling, high risk maneuvers, just it is polished. And when you peel the curtain back and you learn that like literally Steamboat and Savage filled up a legal pad, like pages upon pages of a legal pad, like 103 or whatever it was spots. It's like literally, okay, spot one here, spot two here. And like literally it was just this beautifully choreographed dance. I mean, it's one of the top 10 WrestleMania matches of all time just because of, again, its significance to what everybody else had to follow after that to kind of live up to that moment. Granted, are there maybe 10 matches nowadays that are better than it quality wise? Absolutely. But just its significance and the fact that it was the first classic WrestleMania match, it'll live on for all time.
I'm just gonna guess here at number two. Let's just on three say the name of the event, not the match, but the name of the event.
All right.
One, two, three. Clash of the
SummerSlam.
Castle.
Ooh, okay.
Oh, okay.
All
Okay,
right.
we're
Okay.
different.
Okay.
Okay, we're different. Okay.
Yeah. I didn't know if you wanted to elaborate a bit more on
Is
your
this
number three.
SummerSlam '92?
Yeah,
Yours is Brett and
Bulldog.
Bulldog.
Yeah. No, my number two is Brett and Bulldog.
We're in the same country. We're in the same continent. Same continent, country. Not country, but
You know, I
same
know, I know, I
territory.
know, I know what match you're referencing, and I'm not gonna lie, that is definitely an all-time banger. But I, I didn't want to let recency bias affect me too much, so I only have one match, and I'll guess, I'll let you guess what my number one is. But no, I mean you have to put Brett and Bulldog on this list. Just the significance, the place and time, the fact that Bulldog went on a bender the night before and basically was still high when he came down to the ring, forgot everything that him and Brett laid out for the match. Brett had to literally quarterback the entire fucking match, calling spots in the ring, fucking walking him through it. Now, I can only imagine if Bulldog wasn't still fucked up. Like if he had actually been at 100%, what that match would have been. They could have easily been number one. But just the significance, the point in time, to me, this is like the greatest match that Brett's worked. Just from him basically carrying the weight of two wrestlers in that match and fucking still making Bulldog look good, even when Bulldog wasn't at his sharpest. Like, it truly is a feat to be respected and studied. And then just the pop at the end of the match where, you know, sunset flip and then Bulldog's able to catch the legs and get the pin for the 1, 2, 3. Like, no, dude, is the hell of a match, hell of a pop, and again, hell of an effort by Bret Hart for everything he did over the course of that
Oh, my number two is it was a banger, literally and
match.
figuratively.
Yup.
It's Sheamus versus Gunther, and it was swollen chest meat.
Dude, like
That's going
Sheamus's
back to
pale white skin was beat red, blood red by the time it was all said and done.
it was one of those. You've seen Gunther, and if you've seen Gunther matches, you know what it what could be. But this is the first one where you had someone that was just as stiff, just as hard,
I mean,
and it showed it.
you have two Europeans that know that European style that are like, okay, like I know you can bring it, I'll bring it. I'm gonna match your intensity. Like we'll lay it on thick. We'll be stiff as can be.
And man, it was first time coming back to the UK really, and with this big show in Wales, and it was just man, it's one of the best matches. It's actually you could say was one of Gunther's best, one of the best matches in this title run. But then I'm guessing your number one is WrestleMania 39.
Yup.
Same here.
See, that's what I'm saying. Like,
Add one more.
I could have very easily thrown 3 Gunther matches in my top 5, but I was like, no, I'm gonna pick one, but I'm gonna pick the best one, and it's this one.
I had to, I had to put them 1, 2 because thinking back of all the matches, those two were just so freaking good. It's this big guy. It's what a WWE match intended. And
When you think of big beefy men slapping man meat,
that
yeah,
those two matches, but it's also like you got the WWE style, you got it's a New Japan style, with like it's stiff.
hmm
Everything you want in wrestling, these two matches got it. And then number two, I had Sheamus and Gunther, and I'm like, was the only one that could beat it, Drew.
yeah.
And it was just like, okay, now you got just three guys that can do the exact same thing. These are three guys that are the same. They're the same, and they're so damn good. And it's just that, man, I am just glad I got to see this in my life.
The pace that they worked in that match, like Jesus,
It was
it was
unbelievable, man.
like one upsmanship left and right. Um, you know, this is one of those matches where there wasn't much in the way of storytelling per se. The storytelling was, I am going to beat the fuck out of you. No, I am going to beat the fuck out of you. No, I'm going to beat the fuck out of you. And it was just literally like back and forth, banger after banger. It's one of the few rare instances where Meltzer threw out 5 stars to a recent WWE show. I mean, granted, they're becoming a bit more prevalent, like over the course of the last year or two, but like this was one of the first 5 stars that he'd given WWE in a minute, and like just just the sheer brutality of that match. I mean, I'm still feeling it right now. Like my chest is starting to swell up right now just thinking about it. Like,
I'm gonna hit you hard. I'm gonna hit you harder. I'm gonna hit you even harder. That was the storyline. It's like basically, I'm gonna hit you hard, but then I'm gonna come and hit you harder. And it was just it was a great match. I mean, it's a banger,
dude,
banger.
I mean, like aside from all of like aside from all the chops being sharp, stiff blows, hard hitting moves, it was just very like matter of fact. It wasn't like oh hey, let me get you into position for this. Let me, whatever. It was just very
And
precise
the thing
with
is like
everything.
if you actually think about it, it'd be like if you think about it, say, hey, we're gonna have a Irishman in this match. Let's add a Scottish guy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we both know Irish are freaking crazy. Scottish are even crazier. But then let's take another crazy. Let's put an Austrian in there, and let's mix this all up, and you get the probably one of the greatest matches this century in WrestleMania.
Yeah, no, definitely deserving at the top of my list of best Intercontinental Championship match. Now granted, it could be recency bias. I don't care. It's something that sticks out and is very beloved by the fan base. And yeah, no, it was just a very beautiful and brilliant showcase of European wrestling.
Yes.
So now we want to transition over to our top 5 Intercontinental Champions of all time.
Yes, sir. Let's do that. I'll start with number 5.
Okay.
Um, it's the bad guy, rest in peace, Breezer Ramon.
Funny enough, he's also my number 5.
Oh. I, to me, it's just like when he had the belt, it made it cool.
Well, the bad. I mean, the bad guy was all about being cool.
cool.
You know what I mean?
It just like having a belt and just the walk when he had the belt, with the vest. How he just walked with it. It just was like just cool. It was like because back in the day it was like all right, yeah, the IC belt is okay, okay.
Well,
It's not the world
The Intercontinental
championship.
Championship, up until I would say he won it, it was more so kind of like it was that mid card belt. It was still considered a workhorse belt. It then became even more so later, but that was like the grooming belt that like, hey, you have this run with the Intercontinental Championship for a bit, then we're gonna make you world champion. That seemed to be kind of the path for a good chunk of wrestlers up to that point. But like, dude, like,
He's one of the few that not at that time, but he's one of those big name wrestlers that never got the championship.
in well, you also have to wonder if him leaving to go to WCW.
Even
Well,
WCW, he
yeah,
never got
well,
the.
no, but I mean, like, considering how popular and how over he was, especially from a merchandise standpoint, from being a perennial fan favorite, that's kind of an interesting what if that you can play. What if Scott Hall stays in WWF, doesn't defect over to WCW? Do you think that he at some point has a run with the belt?
Yeah, that what if turns into this to a statement that I'll say right now. We wouldn't be here talking about wrestling
Yeah, very true.
because what he did in WCW to change the wrestling
Well,
industry,
yeah,
changed wrestling for the great because hey, WWE was going to go bankrupt.
that
Just
is
basically they would go out of business.
that is sad but true.
WCW would end up going out of business, and then yeah, we wouldn't have the Wrestle Wars, and we wouldn't have what we have now.
But
So, what if
it
that's the biggest what if he would have stayed, it probably would have destroyed wrestling.
but it also goes to show in a way kind of his impact, the fact that like as soon as he defected over, everybody knew who he was. Everybody was like, "Oh shit!" Now, granted, he was still doing more of the Razor gimmick in WCW at least the first couple of weeks, but still, it was one of those things. As soon as he jumped over, everybody's like, "Oh
the Razor
shit!"
gimmick or is it really him?
Well,
I because it kind of like it's like how Macho is. Is it Randy Savage or is it?
you hear Scott Hall talk, and yes, he kind of has that low bass baritone, but like at the same point in time, the whole "hey yo," like
I think they lived in that gimmick era where you live your gimmick 24 hours a day.
true.
He was Razor. I mean,
But I mean,
eh,
spread out across 4 reigns with the Intercontinental Championship, he held the belt a total of 434 days. So statistically, that makes him one of the top 10 Intercontinental champions of all time. But I mean, like realistically, like when I think back to like my younger days of watching wrestling, like seeing Razor with that belt is one of those images that's seared into my brain and into my eyeballs. Like,
and also too, is it just me or when he wore the belt, it was more goldish, like it was more shinier than
well,
anyone else's.
the dude was draped in all the gold necklaces
But it just
and
seemed like that
the
belt.
gold razor blade around his
But it
neck.
just seemed like the
But
belt
then
was
you
more gold than
but then you couple that with the gold, Intercontinental Championship. It's like, yeah, the dude was just fucking drenched in gold. It was all about the drip, and he had the drip.
I just think the belt was more gold than
Like seriously, we talk
titles.
about drip as a concept nowadays. Fucking Razor Ramon was
Was drip.
drip before drip
Yeah.
was a thing. All right, like real talk. It to me, these two are kind of handcuffed together because like you can't talk about Razor without talking about my number four, which is the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels.
Let's stop that. Let's not go to your four yet because
Oh,
he's my number three.
okay, all right.
I'll
Well,
go with my number four. Let's talk about my number four first. It's Rick Rude,
okay.
and pretty much how I said about his matches is basically the same thing. It's about his trip per se. the sleaziness of the
I
sleazy
think
drip.
some people might call that an STD.
The sleazy drip. Yeah, the sleazy drip,
Oh man.
and how just the how he did it. It just I don't know. It's just something like I can close my eyes and I can see those matches. I can see him with the belt. He was better with the belt on him than not being on. The hair, everything, the mustache, everything.
Mustache.
The
Yeah.
it just everything. He was made to be IC champion. He also was made to be. I think he should have been the world champion in WWE.
Absolutely.
Um,
You're talking about like a who would have made for a phenomenal heel champion, and I get it was babyface territory. Hogan must pose, brother. But if it wasn't gonna be Ted DiBiase, then really it should have been Rick.
yeah,
A guy that you easily would want to punch in the face and be like, I would love to see that guy lose the title tonight. So arrogant, such a prick. Like,
I think I already got our topic for next show.
oh, I was gonna say,
Lose
don't
the
spoil it now. No, no, no,
I just said
no, no.
topic.
Yeah, just write it down, and we will discuss it off air. We're not no spoilers here.
Already know the topic.
There we go. No, I can definitely get behind Rick Rude. So if HBK is my number 4 and he's your number 3,
Yes, sir.
I'll go ahead and just I guess I'll start then in that case. Just when you think about the bouts between him and Razor, between the ladder match at WrestleMania 10, subsequent match at SummerSlam 95, like 2 of the top Intercontinental Championship matches, period. I mean, even taking Razor out of the equation, his feuds with Bret Hart, Rick Martel, his former tag team partner, Marty Jannetty. I mean, when he initially broke on the scene as the Heartbreak Kid with Sherry, Scary Sherry, you know, just like the total package, like he was definitely a guy that was made to break out on his own, do his own thing, and having a young cocky kid like him having the runs with the Intercontinental Championship and having some great feuds like that. Just like to me, especially when I think of the new generation era, if I think of my Intercontinental Champion, if it's not Razor, it's Shawn. As I say, like that's why those two are handcuffed on the list to me.
He made the IC belt sexy. He made it sexy to be. I mean, sexy like it is the belt that you won't go after.
Mm-hmm.
It's something. It's not a purse where you're like, oh, it's not a death sentence. It's not like, oh, you just mid court. No, he made it to where this is going to be the premiere, and this is going to be the most second. This is, there's a times where the IC title was more prestigious than the WCW Big World title in the '90s. There was that time.
Mm-hmm.
He helped make that. He helped made it that.
That was the belt that you constantly had your eye on because you knew you were gonna see some top quality, entertaining matches.
Yeah.
It wasn't gonna be a slow, methodical, uh, bore fest like some of your world championship matches would be, especially on the WCW side of things. Like it was gonna be high pace. It was gonna be action. There was
You'll see more title defenses.
yeah.
You'll see more storylines wrapped around in and out of the belt. But he made it to where it was like it was big time.
Mhm.
Coming down the zip line with it, the intros. He made that title to be like where.
He didn't come down the zip line with it.
Yes, he did.
Talking about WrestleMania 12.
He went down the zip line a couple times in different shows.
Oh, because I was gonna say when I think of Shawn Michaels at the zip line, I think WrestleMania 12. But
I'm not sure. He was the title with the IC title. I'm just having
yeah, you're having a Mandela moment over there.
Oh, fuck. I don't know. Made it sexy. That's all I said.
Yeah, no, definitely made it sexy. I'll give you that. My number 3 is The Miz.
Funny, that's my number two.
Oh man. Look, hate him all you want because I know, like, for some people out there, Miz rubs them the wrong way. I'm not gonna lie, I've been a mark of his from day one, going back to the Real World season 10, back to New York, watching this stranger from Parma, Ohio, grace our TV screens and talk about how big of a wrestling fan he is, how it's his dream to be a wrestler. Even created his own gimmick. The Miz was created on the Real World. And just to kind of see, he makes his debut proper in the company, gets shat um, among or on initially breaking in. Um, Starts out in a hot tag team with John Morrison. Then he breaks off on his own, and then like who'd have thunk it that the number of times that he's won the belt, which I think he's either close or he's tied the record for most reigns. Let me see. No, but he's oh no, number 2 overall in title reigns with 8. Number 2 when it comes to combined days with the belt. Actually, I was gonna say I think he's now number 3. I think this little information I have is a little old, but when you look at like combined days with the belt, 592. Um,
597 combined days.
oh,
8 title reigns, 500. Okay, no. Combined days. Combined days 597. Combined days recorded by WWE is 592.
there you go.
Number
Um,
3 behind Gunther and Pedro Morales.
yeah. But I mean, just like especially the significance that he kind of brought to that belt and some of the feuds that he had over the course of time, like just to me, he kind of made the Intercontinental Championship important again during a stretch of time when it wasn't,
Yeah.
where it really went to shits. Um, I could kind of think like one of the more lasting memories of mine was like when they did the Raw, like the special Raw show where they were doing like a simulcast from Brooklyn and then also the Hammerstein Ballroom. And like Miz shows up with the Miz Taraj and the freaking crowd's chanting, "Thank you, Miz, thank you, Miz," as he's holding the Intercontinental belt. Like you just want it back at that point. Like just like to me, I cannot think of the Miz without thinking of the Intercontinental Championship. That's how intertwined he is with it.
I agree. Especially the white background where they brought the Shawn Michaels IC title.
Yeah.
You see the white, you think Shawn Michaels, but then you also think
Well, I was gonna say, if I'm not mistaken, was it not Cody Rhodes that brought that back?
yeah, but how many times Cody Rhodes had that title on him compared to the Miz?
Well, true.
That what I said.
Yeah.
It's the Miz. It's you think of the title, look at the title, and be like, name the wrestlers that this reminds you of, and it's like, okay, Shawn, Miz. You can name all the IC title winners that held it, but Miz held it the most with it on the white.
They're true.
So I mean, it's the Miz title.
So I have a feeling I know who your number 1 is.
Yeah, but we still got your number 2.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm saying my number 2
Oh my god.
is Gunther.
So who the fuck is number 1?
I,
Oh god, no.
I'll get I'll get there. I'll get there in a second. But no, like yes, you could easily say Gunther's easily number 1 because he held the belt for the longest 666 days, which by the way, isn't it crazy that that's the number for his title reign, 666 days. No hint hint wink wink nudge nudge there or anything like that. Um but no, like I think maybe over the course of time that will shift and he will be number 1 to me. Um but no, like to me, he definitely, even though he held that belt once, made a statement with that belt. And again, kind of like we were talking about Miz a moment ago about making the Intercontinental Championship relevant again. Gunther legitimately made that belt the number 2 belt. And when you think of the fact that you have 2 world champions now, And I mean, granted, Miz also dealt with a time and age where there were two champions. But like when you have two world champions and you make that belt mean more than one of them,
I'll
that
go
says
further than
something.
that. I think the reason why he's number one on my list is he made that title at one point the number one title in the company. Because even what Roman did, the one thing Roman didn't do,
He wasn't doing it on a consistent
consistent
basis.
basis, where Gunther was doing it consistently, defending that title, and he made it to where him and Bobby Lashley with the U.S. title with Bobby Lashley, but with Gunther, what they were doing was every week or every other week they were defending that title. They were in feuds that was progressing, going through. You see him; he was constantly on. That to me made that title more relevant because we saw the title. And here's another thing that we don't think about Gunther is he did this when WWE made a controversial decision to change the look of the IC title
Mm-hmm.
that did not go too well with people.
I will say this sidebar. The fact that they've added blue
Oh, that title is
to the
even better.
yeah, no. That belt looks so good now. I wasn't a big fan when they made the initial change, which I think they did that with Shinsuke.
With Shinsuke.
I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. I preferred the old Intercontinental Championship, but it's grown on me over time. And like I said, with them adding the blue elements to the belt now, it looks to me like pitch perfect. Like I can get on
I
board.
agree with that. But he made that title to where I grew into the title. Like, I started looking at the title. I'm like, you know what? The title's legit. I like the design.
That
Yeah,
title looks good on him.
yes. And something different changed. Like now, if you ask me what IC title I'd prefer, I prefer this. I prefer the blue. I like the blue, but the new title iteration, I like it better than the old title iteration.
That's saying something.
And it's because what he did. That's why to me he's like number one all time IC champion because he had a lot of things against him. Roman Reigns was a champion and was going
Mm-hmm.
on a historic run on his own. Two, they did that title change was not popular. And three, he just this is like right after COVID. Wrestling was he was the constant that was like, all right, we're gonna make this title into what it is, banger after banger after banger. And oh, by the way, it like we talked about 5-star match.
Yeah. No, like look, everybody was waiting for that one person to come along that would unseat the honky tonk man for the longest reign. And there have been several times where we thought it was possible, didn't happen, but like if anybody could do it and have the credibility to be like, yeah, there were some times that he needed outside interference to win, and then there were other times where he just fucking outright took it. I mean, like, no, like Gunther was the guy that brings that credibility to somebody taking the title of longest reign from Honky Tonk Man. And like legitimately, it's one of those things now you're sitting there like, is anybody gonna beat that record anytime soon? I don't think so. That might be one that stands for another 40 years or whatever.
I could see possibility and keep it on Braun Breaker,
I don't think they could keep it
but
on him
I,
as
I think
long.
I think Braun Breaker is his the blast the ship to go to the top is already halfway there
Oh yeah.
because I think this guy is a phenomenal. And let's talk about Braun Breaker real quick. Sidebar:
Let's.
have you seen his highlights from Kennewa State?
Yep.
Holy shit!
Dude. Well, no, okay, that, but I was gonna say, did you see him and Jacob Fatu on Monday? That right there, my friend, screams money. Just fucking print the money now.
Yeah,
Because when we do get to that point down the road, you could definitely see those two guys in a main event and drawing some
yeah.
serious dough. Like two fucking dogs. Just I mean, I want to see the two of them run full speed at each other, just like two freight trains getting ready to collide. I want to see which one's still standing at the end of it. That's gonna be a hell of a match.
But I think the genetic freak that Braun is. Let's nip this out of the break. Let's just call him Braun Steiner, please. Let's just do it.
He doesn't want it. He
Let's just
doesn't
do
want
it.
it. He's even acknowledged it recently on TV. He's like, yeah, oh no, you talk about your bloodline, all this other stuff. Yeah, I got blood too. I got pedigree too. I don't want that because I'm making a name for myself.
Oh, by the way, you might not be the only Steiner coming up because Scott Steiner's son's right now playing what college he's playing in. I forgot what college he's playing in, but dude had some. He looks great on the field too, and I'm like, just maybe he's gonna be
Just,
down the line. See,
just a matter of time.
it's just a
TikTok.
matter of time being WWE. Just feeling. I got
So
your cat just looking up the poll like, ooh.
she wants to get at some of those decorations that are up there. So you got Gunther as your number one, right?
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say
Bret
you
Hart or
none of those actually. Amazingly, as big of a Randy Savage mark as I am, I don't have Randy Savage on this list,
Macho Man. Not Bret Hart.
and it's not Bret Hart. Give you a hint. We were talking about him earlier.
Perfect.
No,
I don't know.
it's the Honky Tonk Man at number one.
Oh,
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. It's not the Honky Tonk Man, but it is Chris Jericho. I got Chris Jericho as my number one Intercontinental Champion on my list. And it is just mainly, again, a couple of things. One, when I think of the prime of my wrestling watching days during the Attitude Era and everything else, um, Chris Jericho was featured in the Intercontinental Championship picture for the bulk of that time frame. The fact that some of his more memorable angles in the early days of the WWF were centered around the Intercontinental Championship. Um, First won the belt a little over 25 years ago now, Armageddon 1999. Won it from China. And then there was a period of time where the two of them would co-hold the belt. Jericho kind of felt like it was a joke, but then like eventually breaks away from that, forges his own name, has classic matches and rivalries with the likes of Kurt Angle, Triple H, Rob Van Dam, Shelton Benjamin. Even look at like his later WWF career or WWE career, classic rivalries with like Rey Mysterio, um, the Miz, just you featured in a lot of those matches. I think he holds the record for the most reigns with 9. And granted, he only held the belt for 300 of those days, or for 300 days. But just like the quality of the matches that he had, who he would feud with, everything else, just like again to me when I think of Chris Jericho, yes, I can also think of him being the first undisputed, unified champion, but I also think of him with the Intercontinental Championship. I'll go ahead and let you throw your thoughts in on that as far as whether you're going to shit on that or not. Go ahead.
it's your opinion.
Yeah, this is my opinion, man.
I'm through a fucking crush the shit out of Chris Jericho.
I know he would, but I mean, it's also, granted, I didn't want to let recency bias affect me too much with this. But like, and granted, objectively, you can say, all right, yeah,
so you said Attitude Era, and you go like you said Chris Jericho. When I think Attitude Era Intercontinental Championships, it's Rock, it's Goldust. Goldust brought you very uniqueness in that area.
I definitely give you that, and I think had like maybe Goldust either had a longer run with it or had more runs with it, then okay. And then yeah, like okay, like I brought up Jericho and some of those rivalries, and yes, Rock, Stone Cold, Austin feuded over, or Triple
Plus,
H
plus, and
feuded over that belt before they graduated to.
wasn't the majority of the IC belt that he held was the rounded one,
Yeah,
like the oval one?
yeah, the oval one.
Yeah, I discredited that title. That's the worst looking one.
Yeah, it is. But no, but at the same point in
I
time,
call the Shelton Benjamin IC belt.
what I think, hey, but I was gonna say Jericho and Shelton Benjamin's matches; those were some fucking bangers,
I
man.
just the look at that design on that belt. I just
Yeah,
ugh.
but like at the same point in time, you brought up The Rock, you brought up Triple H, but like when I think of them, I also think of like
Austin.
their feuds for the WWF title. I mean, granted, same thing with like Kurt Angle, but like, yes, they started their feuds with the Intercontinental Championship, but then they graduated to that. Jericho had a couple of runs with the World Championship, but like the majority of his career was centered around the IC belt. So, um,
Yeah, it just even like with that, to me, I don't put him with IC belt. Like I know it. I just my mind. I think of IC champions. Like I would have like other people I would have put on this list. If let's just say right off the bat would have been like maybe like Owen. I would have put the Honky Tonk. If it was a top 8, I would have put the Honky Tonk Man because look, he does deserve some recognition for what he
let's
did.
say,
He pissed a lot of kids off.
yup. I was gonna say
He
like
knew how to piss people off.
Savage brought prestige to the belt, grandeur, so to speak. I was gonna say Shelton Benjamin, the gold standard of WWE. Like,
You know who the most
he
impressive Intercontinental champion there was? Who do you think is the most impressive IC champion?
Santino Morella.
No,
You know who?
it was Von Erich. He only had one leg.
Texas Tornado.
He only had one freaking
He had 1 foot.
1 foot. I mean, he did that. He was IC champion with 1 foot.
Yeah,
That's most impressive.
I'll give you that.
But I think IC was like it just some reason like I don't think like Jericho. Just like I knew he was, but just like I
Oh,
can
that's
think
a shame.
just I can think of others that's just more notable to me. Like just I don't know.
Gunther has the longest reign. He has the most range, Jericho. So
Yeah, I think
quantity over
I
quality,
like
baby.
I like my list with Gunther 1 and Miz 2 because those are the two that did more for they made it more both of them made them more blah 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 blah
I mean,
more
realistically,
prestigious.
and you know what? And I feel like it's fucking criminal that when we were talking about the Miz, we didn't even talk about the fact that like there was the classic Talking Smack promo, where he goes off on Brian Danielson, like, you draft me over to SmackDown, you don't feature me on TV. I'm your fucking Intercontinental Champion. I'm the one that made this belt relevant, and you're not going to put me on the show. What is this bullshit? And like the fact that the fans fucking rallied behind him with that, like the fact that we didn't even touch on that when we were talking about the
You know what?
Miz,
I'm gonna
crazy.
I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna recant my number 5 all time greatest match. I'm gonna give you a match because I think I just now it just popped in my head
Okay.
and I forgot where WrestleMania it is, but it's the ladder match where uh
You see, you get me all hyped up for this shit, and then you have a brain fart. Wait, are you talking about Zack Ryder wins it?
Zack
Yeah.
Ryder wins the title.
Was that Orlando?
I think it was one of the Orlandos. We had a couple Orlando WrestleManias.
Well, yeah, no, but
But it was either Orlando or Miami.
Yeah, like Zack Ryder wins it, and then the very next night on Raw, Miz steals it from him
Yeah,
in front of Zack Ryder's dad.
but just the chance of actually Zack Ryder winning, and first time hearing his fucking entrance at a WrestleMania.
Yeah,
I I'll put that as my number 5 because that
but
was a great moment.
but dude, like,
It wasn't
but
that great
like
of a
when
match,
Maurice
but
returned on Raw that next night, and dude, just like that,
smacked the shit out of his dad.
yeah, just between Miz and Maurice, the total package and everything, like that's good shit. Like that like when I think of top intercontinental champions, I definitely think of that perfect picture right there.
Like it's just the title that to me, if you ask like name, think of a title that's like a prestigious title. To me, that's like one of the most prestigious titles because of like the names that we said and also some of the matches, but also it's just one of those titles is like, all right, we know that this is the workers champion, this is the workers belt, and that what counts what's in wrestling. It's about the work rate, not hey, you can sell the tickets and everything, that's great, but what's more relevant, Like right now, I think I love the situation right now, but I can tell you right now, I am I've been intrigued with the IC belt being on the last couple people between Sammy, Braun, Jimmy, and now back on Braun. I am intrigued more with that title and then and added blue. Let's add more onto it. Add blue, and it's more relevant because, hey, I know who the U.S. champion is, but what really has been going on with that belt?
That yeah, well that's what I'm saying. Like I had to actually sit there and look it up, and I'm like, oh yeah, fuck, it's LA Knight. Shit.
Yeah, it's LA Knight.
But
It has been
like
stabbed with the
we
belt.
we need to fucking yeah, like I love the fact that we've made the Intercontinental Championship relevant again, and now we just got to do the same thing for the U.S. Championship. And
Well, the problem I think with that is the SmackDown is so bloodline driven. It gets the one thing having it on Paul makes it more relevant because he's such a sleazeball. People hate him. It brought the title out and about. You know, it's not there, but you knew who had it because
well, you
you
knew
turn
who
on
had it.
YouTube or you tune on TV. It's on TV constantly, not on WWE programming,
Well, yeah,
but on
but
other programs.
but you knew who had it, and the storyline was about okay, now who is gonna go? Who is gonna be the one to dethrone Logan Paul? Who's gonna chase after him and get it? And you had compelling storylines with that. Now that LA Knight has it,
There's
it's like
no
who? What's the feud? It's like I think well, like you had Carmelo Hayes and Andrade have a phenomenal series of matches to earn the right to face LA Knight, and then it's like, oh hey, I'll just face both of you. It's like, well, what the
What's the
fuck are we doing
purpose?
there?
Yeah.
Like, like no, we need definitive.
And it's not on PLEs. It's the
Yeah,
it, like I said. I understand the 5 match PLEs and I understand all that, but you
I
have
don't.
to give too many titles
I'm not
to.
necessarily one to think that like every title has to be featured on a PLE. It doesn't. But at the same point in time, you need to then, if you're not going to feature it on the PLE, then you need to feature it on the SmackDown before, or on the show after. Like
But also, what makes the IC belt more intriguing right now? Joe Testator's on the call on a championship match.
yep.
It it elevates it. If you're a boxing fan or a boxing fan, that elevates like Joe Testator calling a championship match. Makes it more. It just means more, like the SEC. Just means more.
I was gonna say sidebar. What you thinking about this LSU A&M match coming up this week?
Hope as LSU doesn't shit the bed. They play like they did against Arkansas. That's going to be a long night.
I was gonna say, like, I know A&M's got a bit of a better defense. I think the fact that you still got a young pup back there at Wegman that you legitimately don't know what game you're going to get out of them. I mean, it helps that they're playing at A&M. It helps that they're playing at Kyle Field, but I think LSU's defense has gotten a lot better over the course of the last few weeks. Like, look, the fact that they were able to hold Ole Miss in that game where they were easily able to march down the field, but they hold them to field goals versus touchdowns. Look.
First thing, it's Ole Miss. It's Ole Miss. And
but Ole Miss had one of the best offenses in the country at that point.
Okay, but it's Ole Miss versus LSU. This is how this all goes. Was that game at LSU or Ole Miss?
That was at LSU.
LSU. If that game was at Ole Miss, that would have been a whole different outcome.
I'll give you that, but again, at the same point in time. Well, no, I get it. I'm just going to say at the same point in time, though, if the defense bends but doesn't break, I can ride with that. I can live with that. I kind of feel like LSU's defense will be able to apply pressure to Wegman, and I think it'll be a close game because more often than not, A&M LSU is usually a pick 'em at home. But I think like LSU has enough on offense and a serviceable enough defense where they can go in and they can win that game at Kyle Field. That's just me.
Here's the thing: the lore. If you look at the lore, and right now it's year 3, right?
Year 3 for talking about Brian Kelly.
Yep. What's the year 3 lore? Year 3, LSU coaches in this century won national championships.
Oh, okay. All right.
So, could they go into Kyle Field, win a game, then win out? It's possibly bad. This is the lore. It happens. If you look at 08, 07, 08, they lost 2 games and they still made the national championship. This is the lore. It's year 3. I would not put anything past it because shit happens at LSU in year 3s.
They're in better position. I was like, they're in better position now if they were to suffer. I'll say they're in better position if they suffer a loss, one loss now versus any of the other 2-loss SEC teams. Granted, because say LSU does lose this game against A&M, but then wins out, they still only have 1 conference loss, whereas teams like Bama, potentially other teams along the way, will have 2 conference losses.
I think the problem is like conference. Well, yes, nationally, they can't lose no game because how bad USC has become.
Yeah,
I think you can't. That's a game where you should have won that game. You didn't. USC is what we thought USC was going to be, and I think that situation is going to be like, okay, you can't. Nationally, you can't lose a game. I think nationally you can't lose a game because I don't think the voters are going to give you the votes.
Well,
and I think that's where it comes down to.
The main thing is you win your conference, you're in the playoff.
True.
So I don't think necessarily LSU. Like again, it used to be the goal was win the West, win your conference, and then everything else will play out. I think in this case, again, it's like handle your business. You got.
I say this: you need to win out. LSU needs to win out because here's the thing: you get a 1-loss conference, you have 1 loss in conference. If Georgia wins out, Texas wins out, and all of them and all 3 teams has 1 loss. I don't think LSU and if A&M, they're out. I think you need to win out, and then you better hope to God Texas loses another fucking conference game, or Georgia and Georgia loses another conference game.
I think
because
the
you're
potential
not beating Georgia and you're not beating.
I think the potential there. I think there's more potential there for Georgia to lose another game than there is for Texas, based on the schedule. based on the schedule, I think Georgia has tougher games ahead than Texas does.
Texas at Texas A&M.
That's a
I
wild
will
card.
not sweep. I will not sleep on that. That's
No.
the game. That's the game. Circle. That's the game I thought they were going to lose this season. If they would lose one game, that was the game to me because the pressure of going, hey, you're in the SEC now. All this time you screwed over the times that you screwed over A&M. Now you're playing. You're going to A&M for your first go around. That's I think the pressure would have been built up, just not on the players, but on the coaches, on the faculty, on the student body. That game right there is hovering so much on that university
Yeah.
because of all the previous. Watch your head. Don't lift up. Don't lift up. Don't lift up.
Watching the dog. It's like literally this thing is hanging by a friggin' shoestring right now.
Don't hit the left. The but yeah, I think with that, that's the game that to me is the no. Oh, don't hit. Oh, it froze. So guys, you're gonna see us. We're frozen because we got a dog tail to the camera.
Womp womp.
Dog tail to the camera, so you get to see the last. We're frozen, but we're still talking. We're still talking's good, but video's frozen.
Well, I guess that probably is a good time to go ahead and wrap this up. Bella knows what's up. So that'll do it for this edition of the Ragin' Marks Wrestling Podcast. Thank you for tuning in. We hope to be bringing you more content over the coming weeks on a little bit more of a consistent basis. So stay tuned to Fat Banter Productions for more content coming down the pipeline. But for this edition of the podcast, Ravish and Randy signing off.
And fuck, I forgot my name. Good time. So I'm having a senior moment today. I'm having a senior moment today.
Rampage out.
Yeah. I'm about to say Rampage Jackson. God damn, I am not good today. Ramsey out. Ramsey's out.